On this journey of the path, we recognize that a journey really isn't a journey unless we have a destination in mind. To have a destination in mind, we need some signs, we need some markers along the way. Our God is really good at giving us signs, but often we don't read the signs. And without a destination in mind, we are just helplessly wandering around. Several of the problems that come up that we miss the signs is one, life is really hectic. There's a lot of chaos involved. We spend our times running around fearing that if we stop, then unfortunately things just won't get done. So we hurry through life and we miss the signs that God has for us. He has a very clear path in store for us. But unfortunately, when we don't read His signs and we don't listen to His way, what we do is we just wander off the path. To find the path and to see the signs that God has in store for us, sometimes it's kind of counterintuitive. What we have to do is we have to slow down. Throughout the scriptures, we never see God say, hurry up and you'll find me. But what we do say is be still and know that I am God. See, it's in the stillness, it's in when we slow ourselves down that we can actually not just hear ourselves think, but we can see the signs that God is giving us, the direction that He's pointing us in. Now, it's hard for us to slow down, but taking time out to just get away, to be still, and to know that God is real, that He is good, that His plan is good for us, it gives us direction in our life. That helps us to stop wandering. And wandering is a terrible thing because we don't just lose minutes, we lose days and hours, we lose years off of our life and even decades. We lose marriages and our family because we're hurrying and not listening and seeing the signs that God has for us. Years ago when I first got to South Carolina, I got to Shaw Air Force Base and I had a friend and he invited me to go hunting with him. Down here in South Carolina, it is a lot different hunting than I was used to up north. So he invited me to come out to his place, and he lived in a place that was a big swamp. I had never hunted in a swamp before, so I was very excited about this big adventure, this journey that we were going to go on. After a couple times of going into the swamp, we would go further and further and further each time. This required that we would take our kayaks with us. In some places, we actually had to pull our kayaks. One of the mornings that we were going into the swamp very, very early, way before dark, we were navigating with a little headlamp on our heads, so we could only see a very small path in front of us. We knew where we were heading, and I had a great guide who knew all about the swamp because I didn't. And as I am following him in the darkness, all of a sudden he stopped. And when he stopped, I bumped into his kayak and almost ran into him. I said, what's the matter? He pointed down at the trail and the path that we were on, and what we saw was very scary. It was a large drag from a gator, where you could see his tail had drugged through the mud and the cattails which we were walking through. But here's the really scary part. His span of his claws was over 5 feet. We knew we were on the wrong path. My friend suggested, let's go a different way. And I said, okay, that sounds like a great idea. I followed his instruction, I followed his path, because he knew what he was looking at. And because he knew what he was looking at and he could sense the danger, we avoided that. But oftentimes in life, we go through life and we're on a path and there's danger all around us. We are heading in a direction. And oftentimes what happens is the people that know us best and the people that love us say, you know what, I'm worried about you. I'm worried about the direction you're heading, but we continue to go in the same direction otherwise. It would have been foolish for me to not listen to my friend and his advice and see the danger of the trail that we were on and not veer from it. Proverbs 22:3 says, "The prudent see danger and take refuge, but the fool keeps going and suffers for it." On this path, we can be wise and we can follow God's signs in His path, or we can be the fool that just keeps going even in the face of danger, even when we've wandered from His path. Proverbs 14:12 states, "There's a way that appears to be right, but in the end leads to death." Even as we go through this life, when we know that foolish keep going, they lose their life and they lose the path and the plan that God has for them. But God always has His eye on us. He always has a path in store for us. When we follow that plan, we recognize His path is so much better than anything that we could have ever hoped or imagined. Psalm 32:8 promises, "I will instruct you and teach you in the way you should go. I will counsel you with my loving eyes on you." It's awesome for us to know that God has His eye on us all the time. He is watching the path, and what we don't understand is God sees the big picture. Often we're focused on the small picture, what's immediate and what is right in front of us. That causes us to veer. I'm reminded of the story where Jesus feeds 5,000. And in the scriptures, everybody was surrounding Him. He feeds all these people. And then just after He feeds the crowd with just a few fish and a few loaves, Jesus disappears. He goes away. He goes across the lake and He finds solitude and rest. But the crowd continues to follow Him. And as the crowd continues to follow Him, when they find Him, they ask Him for more signs. They want to see more signs that Jesus was who He said He was. Actually, what they really want is they want Jesus to feed them again. And a lot of times what we ask for signs, we want to see God prove Himself to us. But throughout scriptures, whenever God provided a sign or a miracle, it is to point us in a direction that is Him. He wants us to seek Him, the bread of life. Listen to what it says in John. In John 6:26, Jesus tells them, "I tell you the truth, you are looking for me, not because you saw miraculous signs, but because you ate the loaves and had your fill." See, Jesus challenges them. In this life, He challenges us, not just to go to God to get something out of Him, but to follow God's plan and trust in His way, because when we do, we really understand the path. Often what we need to do is we need to take time out. We need to go to a still, quiet place, listen for His voice. Even when Jesus was teaching His disciples how to pray, one of the things that He tells them is go find a quiet place, a private place, where there you can be alone with me. When we're on the path and there's a lot of noise and there's a lot of distractions, we miss hearing from our Heavenly Father, who wants to direct and guide us, who sees the big picture and knows the plan. This week, as you spend time in your group, listen for God's voice as He guides you down the path that He has in store for you. Have a great week.